Welcome back to the Python series. In this lesson, we'll be exploring a data structure in Python called tuples. Tuples are very similar to lists, but with few key differences that make them unique and useful in certain situations. So by the end of this video, we understand what tuples are, how tuples are different from lists, how to create and use tuples, some useful operations that you can perform on tuples. So let's get started. Before I show you how to create a tuple, let's first consider what tuple is. A tuple is a collection of items that is ordered and immutable. That means the items in a tuple have a fixed order, and once you create a tuple, you cannot change its elements, you cannot add from it, you cannot remove from its elements. So tuples are very similar to lists, but the key difference is that lists can be changed. That is, lists are mutable, but tuples cannot be changed. Tuples are immutable. So how do we create tuples in Python? To create tuples in Python is very easy. You simply write a sequence of items and then you separate them by comma. And optionally, you can wrap the items in parentheses, or you can just leave it like that. So to create a tuple in Python, let's assign the tuple we want to create to the variable name of my tuple. You can create your tuple by just writing the list of items and then you separate them with comma. So you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is a typical example of tuple, and you can optionally wrap them in parentheses. So we can say this is my tuple 2. Okay, let's put underscore. So you can wrap them in parentheses. Both forms of tuples are valid, but it's more common to use parentheses to make your code easier to read. So let's see the difference in the console. If we print both tuples to the console, let's see the difference. So we have my tuple and then we have my tuple 2. Okay, let's run this and see what we have in our console. So you can see now that in our terminal, both tuples are wrapped inside of the parentheses. So you can create it like this or you can create it like this, but it's more common to create them inside of parentheses so that your code can be more readable. If you want to create a tuple with just one element, you need to add a comma after the element. So let's say you want to create another tuple. Let's call this. So if you are creating your tuple, like if you are creating a single item tuple, you have to make sure that you put a comma after the item if it is just a single item. If you do not put a comma after the item, Python is just going to regard your item as a single number, as just a number. It will not regard it as a tuple. If it is a string, it will regard it as just an ordinary string and not a tuple item. You can as well print this. You can come here and say print. We have single item tuple. Let's comment these two lines out, this and this. So you see, but if you do not put a comma, Python is just going to regard it as a number. If it is a string, it will regard it as just a string. So if you want to create a single item tuple, ensure that you don't forget to put your comma after the item. So how do you access tuple elements? Just like lists, tuples are ordered, so you can access tuple elements by their index. Let's print individual items from my tuple. Okay, so let's comment this out and comment this out. Okay, so this is undefined. Let's access single items from my tuple 2. So to access single item from tuples, you use the index of each item, just like you are working with lists. So we have my tuple 2, which is the name of the tuple we are working with. Then you have your square brackets and then the index of any item you want to access. If you want to access the second item, that is index of 1. Just as you can remember that indices are 0 based. So if you print this now, let's print this and see what we have. Okay, let's run this again. So you see that the second item, which has index of 1, is 2. 1 has index of 0, 2 has index of 1, 3 has index of 2, and it goes on and on like that. Okay, just so that this won't confuse you, as we have numbers in our tuple and we have the index of 1. So let's use a tuple that has strings as its elements. So we can as well call this my tuple also, so we don't keep looking for name of tuples. So we can call the first item, let's call it cherry, like we are working with this. So if you use -1 now, you are going to have apple printed into our console. If you use -2, you're going to have banana printed. If you use -3, you're going to have cherry printed into the console. So why use tuples? Why not just use lists? One of the reasons to use tuple is immutability. Sometimes you want to ensure that your data cannot be accidentally modified. So once you create a tuple, you cannot change any of its elements. Let's see what happens if you try to modify a tuple. Let's try to modify my tuple now. So we can come here and then we can say my tuple, or let's try to modify the second item, which has the index of 1. So let's say this is now orange. Okay, let's try to change banana to orange. So let's comment this line out, run this, what we have. So you can see we run into type error. Tuple object does not support item assignment. So you can see now that tuples are immutable. You cannot change the items in a tuple after you've created that tuple. So if you need a collection where elements can be modified, you should use a list instead of using tuple. Another reason to use tuple is efficiency. Tuples can be more memory efficient than lists, especially when you are working with large amounts of data. So what are the operations that you can perform on tuples? Even though tuples are immutable, there are still several useful operations you can perform with them. One of the operations you can perform with tuple is concatenation. You can join 2 or more tuples together using the plus operator. So let's say we have my tuple to be this, then we have another tuple. Let's call this another tuple. Some people call it tuple. So whatever you like, you can call it. You can say tuple, you can say tuple. Okay, let's say we have the second tuple to be, let's say this is orange, and then let's say we have another as pineapple. Okay, so you can concatenate both tuple and my tuple. Let's concatenate it into another variable. You can call this concat tuple. Okay, so to concatenate them, you use the plus operator. Then you have my tuple plus another tuple. Okay, so now let's print concat tuple and see what we have. Concat. Okay, if we run this now, what do we have? So you can see we have cherry, we have banana, we have apple, we have orange and pineapple. Another thing you can do with tuple is repetition. You can repeat the element of a tuple using the multiplication operator. Just like we use the addition operator to concatenate tuple, you can also use the multiplication operator to repeat the element of a tuple. So let's comment this print line out. So let's say repeated tuple is equal to hello world as our tuple item, but since we have a single item tuple, that means we have to add comma to it. So to repeat the items of this tuple, we just have to multiply it by any number we like. If you want to repeat it 2 times, multiply it by 2. If you want to repeat it 3 times, multiply by 3. If you want to repeat it 5 times, multiply it by 5. Okay, so let's print repeated tuple now into our console and see what we have. Okay, so you see we have hello world 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There are several other operations you can perform with tuples, like checking if an element is in a tuple. So you can check that with the in keyword. You can also check the length of a tuple using the length function. You can also slice a tuple by extracting the part of its element, but we'll talk about slicing in another lesson. So to check if a specific element is present in a tuple, you use the in keyword. So just as we have my tuple to be cherry, banana, and apple, let's comment this out so we can work with that. Okay, this is repeated tuple. We can also comment this out. Okay, so let's check if banana is in my tuple. So to check that, we have the string banana, okay, if it's in my tuple. Alright, so to see this in console, you can print that. So if it's in my tuple, it's going to return true. And if it's not in my tuple, it's going to return false. Let's see what we have. So you see we have true. But now let's check if orange is in my tuple. So let's change this to orange. Okay, if we run this now, what do we have? See, we have false. So you use the in keyword to check if an item is present in a tuple. And if you want to check the number of items that is present in a tuple, you use the len function, just as you can use with list or string. So use len, and then you pass the tuple you want to check. Right, let's print this and see what we have. If we print this now, you see the number of items in my tuple is 3. That is 1, 2, and 3. Another powerful concept about tuple is unpacking. This means you can assign the element of a tuple to individual variables in one step. This is particularly useful when you are working with functions. When your functions return multiple values, you can do this using tuples. So let's say you have a function, let's comment this out. You can call your function my function. Okay, let's say my function. Right. So let's say my function is performing 2 operations. Let's say this is a summation operation adding 2 numbers. Let's say 2 plus 3. And then it's also performing another multiplication operation. Let's call it product. You can say 2 times 3. Now we want to return these 2 variables. So we do that using tuples. So you return summation, and then you separate them by comma, and then you return product. This, you can see this is a tuple, but we are not wrapping it in parentheses. You can as well wrap it in parentheses. So whenever you invoke my function now, it is going to return these 2 values as items in a tuple. So to access individual items from what this function returns, you unpack them. Okay, so let's say this is results is equal to my function. Okay, so you call it. Now let's print result and see what we have. Print result. Okay, so if we print this now, we're going to see that we have 5, which is the result of summation, and then we have 6, which is the result of product. Okay, so to unpack these 2 items now from the result, you just assign different variable name to each of the items. So let's call this add. Okay, and then let's call this multiply. Okay, so here now we are unpacking the items of what is returned in this function. So if we print add, you are going to see 5, and then if you print multiply, you are going to see 6. So you can see this is how you unpack items from a tuple. Now that we've understand what tuples are, when should we use tuples and when should we use lists? The answer is simple. Use a tuple when you want a collection of items that should not be changed, and you should use a list when you need a collection of items that can change over time. Another thing we should talk about in tuple is tuple have a couple of methods. We have methods like count, we have method like index. So count returns the number of times a specified value appears in tuple, while index returns the index of the first occurrence of a specified value. So we can as well use our previous tuple. So we have okay, let's use my tuple. We have my tuple 2 here. You can comment this out. Okay, let's comment all this out too, just so we can see what I'm working on. Let's copy this, comment this out, and then duplicate it down here. So we have my tuple 2. I can as well say it's my tuple. Okay, so one of the methods that is available on tuple is the count method. Count method returns the number of times a specific value occurs in a tuple. Okay, so let's repeat a certain item in this tuple so we can use that for illustration. You can see this is let's say 2. Okay, but we need to separate this with comma, and let's come again and say we have another 2 here. Okay, now let's see count. Okay, so we are going to write the name of our variable, which is my tuple, and then we use count. So which value do we want to check the number of times that it occurs? Let's check 2. Okay, so we have to see this in the console. Know our usual way, which is printing. Okay, if we print this now, what do we have? So we have 3 number of occurrence of 2 in this my tuple. So we have 1, we have 2, and then we have 3. If we replace this with, let's say, 4, so 4 has just 1 occurrence. Run this now, we are going to have 1 printed into the console. Okay, another method, just like I said, is index. Index returns the index of the first occurrence of a particular value. Now that we have 3 occurrences of 2 in this my tuple, if we run the index method and copy this down, if we run the index method now, index, and then we pass 2, even though we have 3 occurrences of 2, the index method is going to return the index of the first occurrence, which is 0 and 1. Is going to return 1. If we run this now, so we see 1 printed into the console. So in this video, we've learned what tuples are and how they differ from lists. We've learned how to create and use tuples. We've talked about the immutability of tuple, which means they cannot be changed after they are created. And we've talked about useful operations on tuples like concatenation, repetition, and unpacking. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we learn more about Python. Keep coding with Coding Atlas. See you in the next lesson.